Okay. Yesterday, Tableau showed this dashboard to thousands of analytics leaders. I ran it through the 77 rules engine. It scored 97% on design, 79% on integrity. Yesterday, Tableau showed this dashboard. I ran it through the 77 rules. Apologies. First live stream. Uh, I will go back to the top so it's clear. Yesterday, Tableau showed this dash. Yesterday, Tableau showed this dashboard at their convention. Go back again. Yesterday, Tableau showed this dashboard at their Tableau conference to thousands of analytics leaders. I ran it through the 77 rules engine, and it scored 97% on design, 79% on integrity, and that is the problem, that gap between design, which is beauty and its aesthetics, and it looks nice. But integrity is the key when you're giving things to people that are independent of the analytics team. They just aren't there hearing everything. So this is not a dunk on Tableau. I just want to make that clear. I've committed many dashboard crimes in my career and learned over the years from great people, and everybody has a learning curve. It's a very hard thing to get great at dashboards. And it looks excellent. It's modern, polished, visually strong, but executive dashboards aren't just supposed to look good. They have to be safe to act on. So let's take a look at the audit. So using our proprietary software at get77rules.com, the design score is excellent. It's A, 97%. Almost nothing wrong with design based on almost 93 rules that we've made, of which 56 are design, 37 are integrity. And we've got the integrity score, which is much more concerning at 79% or a C, and our combined score of 85%. So now our automated engine that we use, proprietary software at get77rules.com, has a combined score that heavily weights integrity, so it's 85% overall. So this is not an ugly dashboard, that's not the problem. It is a strong visual design, but we do have concerns about decision risk. Now, like all automated systems, even built by people with decades of experience like myself and I've worked with a lot of other great people where I've learned these rules and built the rules over time. Um, an automated AI, which this is a fairly sophisticated AI system that's analyzing this using the rules I've developed, can give you things that really may not apply to your dashboard. And that sometimes happens, and there's a nice way to handle that, but we'll come back to that. So we continue going through here. So the strongest issue, if we go down here, you'll see that the automated software actually identifies the top 10 issues actually on the dashboard, attempts to place the different numbered rules in approximate locations where they should be addressed. Not a guarantee. Just want to check my sound. On the dashboard. Excellent. So scroll down a bit here, we'll see our top 10 findings on page 1. And it's very terse descriptions. So here's our top 10 findings. This is based on a weighted score system. So if you fail, which means the AI believes that particular rule is a failure versus a warning, which it may or may not be correct, it heavily weights it more. So let's say a rule is 10 points in our system that I built and you fail, that's heavily weighted at 10 points minus off the total score. Whereas if you only got a warning where it may or may not be true, it'll give it like a 5-point rating when it combines all these. So it's a nice numerical ranking of probably the most critical issues. Now on page 2 of our automated report, we have every one of our rules and the status. Now grays are things that just weren't checked at all because they didn't apply in this particular example. Greens are things that looked good according to multiple passes of the AI through the different rules using a sophisticated system that's been developed over the last few months. Yellow is our warnings. So you can think of those as like, yeah, may or may not be a problem. That doesn't mean it isn't critical to you. It just means the AI isn't certain it's a problem. It thinks there's a problem. And the reds are on multiple passes of different AIs. They think those rules were broken. So you'll see most of these are down in this integrity area. Down below Rule 57, everything is integrity oriented. So let me go to the actual findings of the automated software. So Rule 78. This is the first finding. Um, do we need an explicit time range? So unless you, the analyst, are there with the team, able to tell them, hey, here's what I think is going on. Oh, by the way, this is a quarterly update. If it's not clear, then you get very confusing, potential interpretations. There could be dashboards where part of it is supposed to be a different time window. But for example, what was strange to me is in this, it said January 01 to January 49, which I guess it's a demo, but I don't know what January 49 is. I guess it's not a day, so I assume it's 48, 49 years later. That's a little bit strange. So without an explicit time range added to subtitles, footnotes, we can have confusion by the user. So let's go over here to where Rule 70, there's several places where I'm just like, what is the time range for some of these? Pretty much anywhere in here, I'm not sure, are we looking at the says live pulse. Does that mean instantaneous right now? Even if it is instantaneous right now, is this from the beginning of the year? How am I supposed to know that? So again, I know the analyst probably knows it, although they might forget if they come back a few months later. But how do I know that as the end user who's a busy person going, great, I have this dashboard, 1,300 orders. Is that this month or the last 4 weeks? This quarter? We're 6 weeks into the quarter. So is it 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 month? What am I looking at even just up here? So I see nowhere on here anything telling me that. Now, Tableau did introduce a bunch of features here. I really don't want to ask the AI. I want to look at this and get a glance before I walk into a meeting. I'm not like going to keep inquiring of your dashboard. I want your dashboard to make it obvious to me where I'm at and what I need to focus on. So let's go back to our next topic, which is Rule 79. So there's no explicit last updated timestamp or date reference on the dashboard. So it does say live pulse, but it doesn't have a specific timestamp. Now, what happens if I put this in my presentation and I go present it in 10 days at the board meeting? They see live pulse, but I'm sorry, it's not live, it's 10 days old. If I forget to say that, they might think this is data up to the day before the meeting. And then they might get a wrong answer, a wrong conclusion in their head of like, oh, it looks better than I thought. I thought they said there was a problem here. Yeah, there was a problem within the last 10 days, but I took a snapshot and put this in a slide deck. Let's go to the next rule. Several charts display percentages without their base counts or denominators. So this rule, to me, I find this personally confusing because I didn't build the dashboard. I'll give you an example here. When I look at 38%, am I down 3.5 basis points, which was I was at 41.5%, or am I down 3.5%? And then here it does say 1.3 pp. I don't quite know what that means because I don't understand all the details of this particular dashboard without more context. But that's something that I find slightly confusing as well. If I had the base count, now here this is much more obvious, up 1.5%, which is plus 21 versus prior. But again, going back to that prior rule, what is prior? Prior what? Prior quarter? Prior quarter of the same window? Prior quarter entirely? Are we beating the whole prior quarter? Are we beating the prior quarter through the same day of the quarter? I have no clue. So, not to bash the guy demoing this, seemed like a perfectly nice guy, beautiful dashboard, but this is clearly demo material, and I've seen lots of people at companies build dashboards with all these things overlooked, and then they're like, no one uses my dashboard. And I'm like, that's because you know the data so well. Of course, you know what all this means, so you just overlook these keys. And that's what 77 rules helps you conquer. Let's take a look here. I have a few more notes on what I wanted to cover. All right. So, so we have multiple other warnings we could take a look at. Just for sake of time, I will cut it off here in a minute. So we have other warnings going down here. Now, if I was in the full web interface for this proprietary software, I could actually accept and try to go correct, or dismiss these particular rules and say, I don't care about them for this dashboard. So I could say dismiss rule 44 and run the audit again on the exact same dashboard. It'll check the rules that had failed or had warnings and make sure that I get to that 100% on both integrity and on design. So this is why 77 rules exist. AI is making dashboards faster and prettier, but someone still has to catch the integrity issues before the CFO, CEO, or the board acts on your chart. And again, that gotcha I gave you isn't just hypothetical. It happens all the time. I got my board deck together 3 days before the board meeting, and now the data is different, but they think the final update of the data, which was all the sales closing, got into the slide deck, but it didn't. And so because I'm saying live pulse on here, like, what does that mean? And again, I don't know what live means. Live means live, and then what's the typical lag on people actually entering data? That could be a whole other question, but that's getting esoteric now. That's getting beyond what the data team can control. But these are just some of the thoughts I've had on this, and using this automated software has really sped up my reviews with executive clients where they want to make sure their top dashboards for large teams or executive walkthroughs are really well thought out, really well designed. And if you'd like to request a private dashboard integrity walkthrough, go to dashboardslie.com. I'll stay for a few minutes and go through a few more thoughts here. And if I see any Q&A, I will go to that. But I just want to riff on this a bit more. So let's take a look here. When I look at this dashboard, and thanks for joining me. If you just wanted the highlights, those were the highlights. But when I look at this dashboard, I do like the aesthetics. It looks really cool. I know that is a factor that matters to people using the dashboard or not. But this period problem is a huge problem for me. I have no idea what period we're examining here. And more importantly, what I would probably do to this dashboard is I would have a very lighter version of the line showing the prior period because I keep talking about prior across these top views here. So that would really give me more context versus prior, and then versus prior what? I don't want to beat that dead horse. Probably some of the other things I'll talk about that aren't part of the automation yet is I really don't like these gauges because I'm losing a lot of context that really is sort of down here. And so the smaller window is really where the context is. Was I in the yellow zone a month ago? Am I in the yellow zone 2 months ago? If I could have this bigger and maybe this more in the upper right corner, my current status, I really don't think this gauge is giving a lot. See Stephen Few if you want to see someone really talk about how much they hate gauges, and he would probably go off on this for about 5 minutes. Um, the other chart I'll talk about is this bottom product pulse. It's like a concentric exploding, I don't know, bomb. I'm not sure what's going on here. I get the concept. It looks really cool. I feel like I'm at the discotheque, but I'm at peak 21% commuter. I have no idea what these link to. Is that the inner to the outer core? Adventure cargo? Um, I'll be honest, this graph, while looking cool, I have no idea how to act on it. I would bet 99 out of 100 people if I showed it to them that are the people who should be acting on this dashboard would not understand that graph. So that graph, I would totally go, how do we make something that's actually usable? This is a demo, so I understand putting something cool there, but in the real world, I would want to get on that. And then I'm looking at this ride map. So I'm assuming this is from listening to the keynote. They're shipping out of San Diego to all these other cities, is my guess. That's the scenario. Um, it looks cool, but the key data is actually up here. I don't see how the data has been encoded as either a thickness, frequency. I guess there's a little bit of encoding of thickness here, but I don't. APAC, Americas. It's like these are almost like two different displays. I'm not quite sure what to do with that. So I would totally consider, how do I rework that? Probably with some kind of um, embedded small bar chart and a better map, as well as possibly some kind of ability to see different time windows. But that's just some high level thoughts. If this is an actual executive review for clients, which we do for clients depending on their current state of affairs, I would probably spend another 2 hours on this, just making notes and making some simple prototypes of superior ways to present the data, things that we could improve, things that are missing, things to take away. And I think, like I said, it's a great looking dashboard. That's why the design score was so high, 97%. But if we go back up here to the top, the integrity is a problem, and that's just the automated integrity checks. Now, there's things that aren't able to be caught by a system like this. First of all, I don't know the quality of the data coming into this thing. Like, there's no way to tell that from looking at a snapshot. Now, there could be feedback, but that's something that's got to be at the analyst and the data engineering team level. But I can tell you there are superior ways to present information that convey it in a much more succinct way, a much clearer way, and some of these integrity rules catch that. But there's probably another, in my list right now, I've got about another 35 rules for integrity, ways to improve the quality of consumption, understanding the context of the data, and making a faster, better decision from your dashboard. So we don't keep hearing the refrain of, we built the dashboard, but there's not enough people using it. The reason why is it's sort of like you're an expert data scientist, BI analyst, and it's hard to get out of that frame of having worked on this for maybe 2 or 3 days and now putting yourself in the shoes of that end consumer, unless you go do testing with them, get harsh feedback from them, make it go back and forth several times, or you just had years of experience like myself and you're like, I can begin to put myself in their shoes and begin to like make massive refinements very quickly that are probably goes much closer to what they'll want as an end product. So let me wrap up there. Thanks for joining me. I'm Stephen McDaniel. Join me at Dashboard Crimes on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe, like this episode, and I'm also on LinkedIn, X, and most importantly, dashboardsly.com or get77rules.com. Thanks for joining me, and I will